Hold on, y'all. Waiting for it to come back up. Everybody keeping. All right, I'm getting it back up now. Okay, well, it looked like we were interrupted for a little bit, so we're back up. Sorry about that. So anyone, if you asked a question when the broadcast was interrupted, please feel free, to post your questions again right now in the comment section. But I believe we had a question that our professionals wanted to get right back into. Does anybody have that pulled up in reference to domestic violence? Who had on? Melissa, we can't hear you.
Can you hear her?
Yes, I can hear it now. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have the exact question pulled up, but the comment was about with the rise of people losing their jobs and the social distancing and all of that, there's might be a rise in domestic violence. So what concrete tools that we can give women as wives or girlfriends to these men who are feeling demasculated at this moment?
Okay, so anybody wanted to take that one?
Well, domestic violence is, something that's very serious. We never want to encourage to stay in any situation where, they don't feel safe. Right now, I think it goes back to you definitely don't want to escalate, a situation. You want to go ahead and, if you don't feel safe, I say to take yourself out of the situation, whether you need to call the police. There is an agency called Women in Distress in Broward County. They do offer different services for all type of situation that has to do with domestic violence. You can call and ask for advice, but you can call the police. The police, they're still, they are still, we want to say, thank you to our first responders. They're still operating where you can go ahead and call. You want to go, if you have a family or a friend who you trust, you can go ahead and, kind of speak to them. I used to work for a domestic violence agency. One of the things that we're taught, you want to make a plan, and that goes, and I'm not only speaking to the women, I'm also speaking to men. It's very real. Like when I worked at the agency, I saw it with men and women, so I'm not speaking to one gender over the other. It's both of them. So I would say, you want to make a plan where you can get away safely, which means you want to go ahead and think it through. You don't want to move out of haste, but certainly if it's immediate, I would say to call your local first responders, call 911 in order for you to get some help. But if it's a situation where you can get away safely, you want to. And also I want to, kind of speaking to both genders, you want to go ahead and manage like your emotions. Like it goes back to kind of seeking help. If you know you're someone that gets angry, this situation is only probably going to intensify those feelings that you're feeling. So you don't want to kind of push it in the back burner, and now your spouse say, how you doing, and the fact that they said it wrong, you go off on them. So you want to make sure you're going to be responsible for your feelings. That you can't say Corona made me do it. You're still responsible for your action. you're still responsible for your words. So you want to make sure that you're taking responsibilities for those words and for those actions, and seek help.
Thank you. I have a question. I want to say it was Aline that may have touched on it earlier. What would you suggest for parents, of course, like in Caribbean community, Haitian community, parents that either have like the language barrier or for whatever reason can't help their kids with the homework and the stuff that they have now, not knowing how to go online and follow all these steps to download, work plans and things like that. Like, and if there's not, let's say there's not an older child in the house, what are some things that's being done for these kids, or suggestions for someone that might be watching that knows someone going through that?
Right. So this is where, community is important. Granted, again, like I said, translators should be available in the community to help. But the thing is if you know that in the home and you have difficulties going online and you have a language barrier, asking someone in your family to try to assist you with that, your neighbor, because I know sometimes we are ashamed or we feel ashamed that we can't do it, but this is a time where people are going to be happy that you're asking, and again, when it comes back to the schooling, it's calling them and asking, how do I do this? But it goes back to with a community, like asking your family, your neighbor to assist you with that, because it's just a moment and they will understand that you possibly do need the assistance.
Anybody? Okay, so I want to see if anybody else wanted to touch on that. We're waiting to see if we have, do you have any other questions, Jen?
Let's see.
I know we had a question from Sharice Frazier that asks, do you recommend a sleep time or bedtime for kids?
If you already had one in place, yes. Because we're trying to normalize as much as possible. Granted, some household kids, you put them to bed, they be wide awake in their room. However, if you try to sleep train, because one thing is our bed is known for, once you hit your bed, your body's trying to tell you, I'm going to bed. So if you know that your child is having difficulty sleeping at night, and they were taking naps during the day, probably minimize the naps a little bit, or have them do activities in the actual living room or away from the room, because once they hit the bed, their body will eventually naturally say it's time to go to sleep.
And what is your advice? Anyone can take this one for someone that's probably a little bit more aware that their friend is probably going through depression or having anxiety because their moods or something has changed. What is your suggestion on how to probably bring that up to someone without offending them? For people that are more aware, you can say, hey, you might be stressed out or going through depression, but there's a lot of people that don't even like to hear that. It's like, I'm fine, or like, so how do you have that conversation or bring that up and say, well, you might be exhibiting these signs for this right now?
I'm a firm believer in just pointing it out and just also providing them, call me once a week, but now you haven't called me in 3 weeks. What's going on? So I believe in firmly just bringing it up, but also provide the facts, provide of what you're seeing them do or not doing that you notice that their behavior change, and that will start up the conversation. And if they're like, I'm fine, you know your friends, you know your people, so that conversation is how you and that person usually have conversations should be handled. So I know you're not fine, Melissa, because we used to talk all the time. Now we're not. Tell me, this is Melissa, this is me you're talking to. Let me know what's really happening. Because some people can't identify those keywords that we've been throwing around. A lot of people can't identify depression or anxiety, so it looks different, and so people don't even know, like, oh, that was a panic attack when I was shortness of breath, sweating. That was a panic attack. I didn't even know. So I think common language and just being open and honest about the conversation is the key to how to handle it.
Yeah, and I would add to come from a place of love, because like you guys mentioned, some people may take offense to it, but when you come when you approach something with from a place of love, I think the person is more apt to receive it. So even offering a level of transparency. So even maybe saying, "Hey, I've noticed that you seem a little bit different, and I really care about you, and I'm noticing the shift, and I'm wondering if everything's okay." And I think sometimes people carry around, like what was mentioned earlier, sometimes shame. Sometimes they don't want to be a burden on other people, so they don't share what's going on with them. And sometimes they don't even know. They don't even know. And like Melissa pointed out, opening up that line of communication to really express what you're seeing, because that person may be presenting a certain way and they're not even aware of how they're showing up to other people. But again, just coming from a place of love, I think, is really important, and also offering transparency in that process. So even offering, maybe, "Hey, I've noticed that you seem a little bit down, and the reason I'm able to recognize that is because I kind of get like that too when I'm down. So am I on the right track? Am I noticing? Am I off?" So it gives the person the opportunity to really tell you and express what's going on without without you putting your idea on them. So that's what I would add.
Thank you, ladies.
Also, I want to also say, like, pertaining to that, a lot of times people think, like, if they, notice certain signs, like if they mention depression or if they mention sad, the person will become more sad, or even like if suicide, people think that if they mention suicide, the person will become more suicidal or may have to do it. But that's not the case. I think ignoring it can make those symptoms worse. But showing that you care and definitely being able to relate, like Franchesca said, like, I've gone through it. You may not have gone clinically depressed, but I'm sure we can all think of a time when we were sad, when we were depressed, and we can tell someone, "Hey, I've gone through that. Like, because I've gone through that, let's be able to walk through it together."
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Ruth. I have a question from a young lady that says, "How do I explain to my very Haitian mother that postpartum depression is real and it takes time to heal?" And I think like whoever's going to answer that, maybe explain what postpartum depression is, because a lot of people may know what that means.
Well, anything else want to go? Okay. I don't want to talk too much. Postpartum depression is often known as PTSD. It's when a traumatic event has happened in your life, and now, you may be dealing with that after the event. So a lot of time, like one of the big events that's often talked about is, after 9/11, a lot of people had postpartum depression, or soldiers are known to have postpartum. Like, so if after they come back home, if they hear a loud noise, they may feel like, they're experiencing postpartum. Like, it brings you back to whatever you experienced. So a lot of people have nightmares, like people have live flashes where, even though it happened years ago, they may feel like it's happening in the moment. Some people have very live visual reaction that, like, it's happening again. So for us, it's very important. I thank you for asking that question, because now we are going through something where a lot of people may feel that after all this is done, a lot of people may start experiencing PTSD. And I think, talking about it to your very Haitian mom, to have one of those, a lot of times what I do is I would say, like, don't try to speak English, because then you already tell them tapu blanc. So you want to go ahead and speak to them in their native language, and trying to go ahead, trying to go ahead and maybe pull something, like maybe if there was a time that if they've experienced something, because Haiti, unfortunately, we've had a lot of events, so there's a lot of times where you can maybe bring it up. was there a time that this event happened, Mom? And then, like, after it happens, like, did you feel like there's a severe fear that it may happen again, or, just kind of like trying to get them to relate? Or sometimes what I do is I don't try to go ahead and go head to head with my mom. I try to explain it to her, and if she doesn't get it, like, I move on and don't do it all at once. Do it little by little, and that's what I do. But with PTSD is very real, and I can see a lot of people kind of dealing with it after this is over.
So she just sent in another message. So I'm feeling like she wanted you or wanted someone to touch on this. She said most women get it after the birth of a child. So I'm going to assume that's probably the area of...
okay, there's postpartum as far as after you give birth to a child. Yes, it's very real, and it's very real. It means that there's a hormone, like, you may have too much hormones, or there's a hormone imbalance. So it may look like, to the really low and very draggy. And I would say to seek help. Like, you can't ignore it. And I would say to seek help. And what I would do is, like, to my Haitian mom, like, I dealt with postpartum, and I would say to bring them to the doctor. Often, like, if you feel comfortable with that, like, to bring them to the doctor and let the doctor, be able to explain it with you in the room. That way, they can see that it's real.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking on my end. It looked like I'm having some connection issues, so I'm just checking it to see what we're getting as far as connection. But I don't see any additional questions being asked, so I wanted to see if there's anything that you guys wanted to touch on before we close. I guess a few key points before we close the session.
Another resource that I did forget to mention earlier, besides commonlit.org or Khan Academy Kids or khanacademy.org, is cpalms.org. So that is actually specifically for Florida. That carries the Florida standards and some lesson plans and activities you can do with your kids based on grade levels. So that's cpalms.org.
Yeah, the Jenny right there. cpalms, cpalms.org. Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to offer a couple of resources. I know earlier Ruth mentioned 211 Broward for those who are in Broward County. And there are also other agencies such as Henderson Behavioral Health. They actually provide services in office, and they also provide services where they can go to your home. And so that's one resource. And another resource I wanted to mention was so the Department of Children and Families. So I think a lot of times when people hear that, they think about, they immediately relate it to child abuse. And so we didn't really touch on that during this live, but I wanted to just touch briefly on it because just like it was mentioned earlier that there are, concerns about higher risk of domestic violence, there's also concerns surrounding potentials for child abuse as well because children are spending more time at home and, there's parental frustrations and things like that. But I just wanted to offer that resource. Like I said, Florida Department of Children and Families, because in addition to the aspect of, maybe investigating those type of situations, they also provide resources such as parenting classes, such as education on domestic violence. I know we talked about that. And so I'm trying to find the exact number.
We're trying to put them in for you too. So we're trying to write them in the comment section for you as you guys provide the information.
Yeah, so I'm going to just say the website, because on the website you can literally go on there and find all the different categories, such as resources for domestic violence, resources for childcare, resources for, for parenting, which is myfloridafamilies.com. So it's myflfamilies.com.
Is there like I guess the suicide line you guys gave is is for everyone. Is there like, is it by cities, or is there like a general website like people can go to get this information if you're anywhere? Because of course we have people watching from area outside of Florida. So what if you're not in Florida? Is there like a site where you can go to and get information for your city, or what should they be looking into?
The Lifeline number, it's a national number. What it does is when you call, it's supposed to route you to your nearest number based on the area code that you're calling. 211 is also a national number. If you dial 211, it's supposed to go ahead and link you. Sometimes if there's a system error and it doesn't do it automatically, it'll give you the number if you reach the county. And I also want to mention, like someone mentioned about social isolation, like being by themselves. 211 Broward is not only a crisis line. It's also a line, like if you want a stranger that you want to talk to, you want to tell your problem, you're not being recorded, well, it'll be put on blast. It's someone, if you want to bounce ideas off of and you don't have anybody, 211 Broward is a crisis helpline, but it's also a listening hotline where you can just call in and speak to somebody.
Nice. Okay.
The crisistextline.org, like if you're someone who's afraid to pick up the phone and talk to someone.
There's a text line?
Yeah.
Okay.
741-741, or simply go on the website, that's crisistextline.org. You will be able to speak to someone via text. It's kind of like an ER room, so they take people different times of the day or night, so it's like constantly. So you can text someone and they'll reach out to you. This is national, and this is found in Canada and the United Kingdom, so it's not just here in the United States. So if you're someone who likes to call, you can also use that.
Can you give that number again, please?
741-741. You just have to text home. That's all caps.
Okay.
And it's free, and it's 24/7.
Thank you. So, Melissa, anything from you before we close out?
Yeah. So, when there was a question about high school students and finishing up, I'll also encourage the college students who are taking classes online to finish strong. You worked hard all semester. You worked hard all last semester. So this is the time to continue that momentum. Keep going. Finish off strong so you can have a great summer and you can have a great fall. So I would like to encourage all my college students who are back home or who are unfortunately can't be home and they're still in their dorm, finish off strong. Also contact your lifelines on campus. Like I said, we are still working. I am still checking my emails. I Google Hangout with my students. So if you need that support, please don't hesitate to reach out. Anybody who needs extra support, your lifelines, these hotlines, we're all in this together. Let us not think that this is just our situation. We are all in this together. Remember that. So those feelings that you are feeling, someone else is feeling them. So reach out for sure.
Yeah. And I would also say with that, we don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. So I don't think it's like far-fetched to think there's a possibility that they can still have a graduation later on, or the seniors, they can still put something together for the seniors later on, or the seniors can get together and do something later on. Like, so even if June, July we're here, at the end of the year, there's still an opportunity to still do something for these students to come back. And imagine, having that situation, if you missed out on prom and all these other things, still having that moment, before you go off to college. So I would also say, don't start losing hope as if like there's not alternatives or things that we can do. Like 2020, everything is pretty much alternative. We can bend things around a little bit and still be able to get, the results we want. Okay, so if no one else have anything else, I just want to say again, ladies, thank you so very much for taking the time out and chat with us today. You've great I mean, like literally amazing information. I've jotted down so much. I learned a lot from you, so I thank you. I think, or I hope we should, could be able to do this again. Getting some text messages already with people saying like they appreciated this. They thank you for doing this. I got a lot of private messages where people are not in the comment section, but they are still messaging us privately just to let you know that they really appreciated you for taking the time out tonight. And if you're just tuning in, or one more time, I just want to give the information of who we had on the call. It was Franchesca Fontus, marriage and family therapy. Aline Milfort from school psychology. She gave us a lot of information on that. Melissa Sanon, higher education, and Ruth keep messing up Ruth's name. Ruth Compere with mental health counseling. So, ladies, thank you again. If you want to maybe one by one give out your social medias and things and how people can find you, I would say let's definitely do that before we get off the call.
Okay, so like Wanda said, my name is Franchesca Fontus. So you guys can connect with me on Instagram at Franchesca Fontus. It's spelled my name the way it's spelled on the screen, and I'm also on social media. You can also connect with me through my practice page. It's Purpose Therapy on all social media platforms, and my website is purposetherapyandconsulting.com. You can also connect with me there.
Melissa Sanon, you can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all Melissa Sanon. I am co-founder of Black Mental Health, and this is a resource support for Black men in the community and changing that narrative about Black men and mental health counseling. So those are all my social media platforms, and thank you so much for having us here today.
You can connect with me on IG, Facebook, Twitter at Aline J Milfort, same as the screen, ALINE JMILFORT, or you can go on my website. It's www.alinejmilfort.com.
Hi, you can connect with me on my professional page, which is Ruth Compere. I'm also on Psychology Today. I'm also I do have a business number. It's 954-228-4955. Again, it's 954-228-4955. You can call, you can text me. It is a private line, so you can leave a message. I'm the only one that gets the messages, and it is a confidential voicemail. And also, I'm part of a private practice called Systemic Solutions, and you can also find our page on Facebook.
Thank you, ladies. And again, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. My name is Wanda with Linya Sweden, the Haitian American. Our goal is to provide a few more educational panels like this for the next upcoming week as we are home practicing social distancing. So thank you for tuning in. Remember to please stay safe and to take care of each other. Good night.
Good night.